Okay, welcome to the Tuesday show. My name's Ultra David.
And I am James Chen, and this is the Tuesday show where we have all of your latest Fortnite news for what's going on in the world of Fortnite.
Which both of us just learned is spelled Fortnite.
That's right. How's everybody doing? We are here for the... No, I'm just kidding.
Wrong.
How's everybody
Just
going?
screwing your own thing up, man.
I'm going fully esports.
Oh, yeah?
You see,
All right.
That's the thing.
Okay.
I have to use proper grammar now.
Oh, well, that's weird.
There you go.
So we're going to talk about this Fortnite dollar signs. Talk about some other esports news, sort of larger esports news with respect to the Middle East as well, and how both of those things might impact the FGC.
Yes.
You know, we'll talk about that, I suppose. We're going to talk about tournament results for Stunfest, for Toryuken, for BAM. I guess E-League happened.
Yeah,
E-League,
the E-League Challenger thing, completed. We know who our last two competitors are going to be. Yeah, exactly. So,
okay.
30 players had already announced that they were going to be in E-League, and there was mysteriously 2 open spots left.
Okay, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll talk about assorted other news for the fighting game community as well. But let's talk about Fortnite money and sort of other esports issues at the start. So the news, as I'm sure everybody in the entire world has heard, if you care about video games at all, is that Epic Games, which is the dudes behind Fortnite, which is the most popular game in the world,
right,
by a substantial margin.
I also learned is partially owned by Tencent as well.
Yeah.
Tencent apparently has a piece of like every single esport.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
You know, they got a lot of dough. Anyway, they're going to be providing 100 million American dollar dues to esports when it comes to Fortnite. Now, there's not that much in the way of additional details, like
how is it going to be spread?
How's it split up? You know, which events are they running the tournaments? Is it other people running the tournaments? Like, what the deal is exactly? It's not really known yet.
It's not like, hey, is there going to be premier events that we're giving money to? You know, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, like, obviously, it's a very different situation for them anyway. They don't have as many established sort of community majors, right? It's not really the same kind of thing. Fortnite itself is, the Battle Royale mode anyway, is not that old, right? It's like this year, or maybe late last year, I don't remember exactly, but it's not that old. And so there's not really like the established, like, top players per se, at least in the sense that older games like CS have had. There's not like established teams per se. There are people who are starting teams, and some big esports organizations have made teams. Not really the same way that other scenes have developed in. So it's all new for them.
Yeah,
and
I mean, is it going to is it going free for all? Like, is that what's going to be the main esport of it? But we don't know anything right now.
Yeah, there's really not that much for it. I mean, I think you got to expect Battle Royale. That said, like, there have been like duos that have had big viewership and money behind them in the past. There have even been some singles tournaments that have been big. There have been like sort of larger teams than that events have done. So I don't know, like, which sort of format is going to be the big thing. You know, I don't know that we can talk too much about Fortnite itself. Like, I've only played the game once.
You've played it.
I tried it. I downloaded the game. It's free to play.
Right.
You might as well just see what it's about. It's not even that big of a game to download, honestly.
Okay,
So it's might as well try it once. It seemed reasonably interesting when it comes to that sort of genre. Like, I wasn't interested in PUBG, for example, but it does have the additional building mechanic that I think is kind of nifty.
Where you see the top players do it, it's very impressive.
I think that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that looks pretty cool. So that said, I don't have that much to say about the game itself. I'm more interested in what this news might mean, if anything, for us. You know, that's 100 mil. It's so much more than anything else. Like, other events have given out, 10 million, 15 million for events, for tournaments. That sounded huge. This is $100 million. It's so much more than anything else.
Of course, like we said, it's really like, what if the grand prize is like, $200,000 or $500,000, and then the rest of it goes to all these other different things.
That's impossible,
right?
I feel like that's actually impossible for it to be only $500,000.
Yeah, actually, now that when it came out of my mouth, I was like, wait, but that means there's
that's 1/200th of the prize
I
pool.
know. There's still a lot left in there. So yeah,
Like that's nothing. 500,000 is nothing. It's
Right.
a rounding error at that level.
Right. But I mean, the interesting thing about it though is that, that like a lot of players have been joking like in the FGC, well, time to go play Fortnite and stuff like that now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like obviously you have to be one of the absolute best to win this money, right? So it's not realistic, but from a realistic standpoint, stating it, players who are good at fighting games, top players in the fighting games, they're just good at video games.
Sure.
Like they could legitimately make that jump, in my opinion.
Maybe.
Like Fudo is one of the greatest at the gun strata game in the arcades, right? You've heard all these stories before where it's like, I forgot who it was. There's like a fighting game player who's like one of the best at a rhythm game, and
Right.
There's all these little things like that. Players are, when they're good at games, they're good at games.
Sure.
Right? So there legit could happen. So I don't know. Do you really think how many? I mean, I'm not even saying FGC players to get into other esports. I'm talking about any good players to get into any other field. It's just when you're a good video game player, you're a good video game player, which is why even like speedrunners, for example, can speedrun multiple games.
Well, I think that their skills are probably more transferable among. I mean, that's like a genre. So I feel like you're in a genre already.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, buddy. Like, my philosophy when it comes to even FGC events, right? Like, if there's 100 people entering an event, probably less top level skill than 1,000 people, just probably. And fighting games are definitely less played than other esports.
Right,
so
right.
I feel like it's probably unlikely that fighting game players are the most talented overall
Well, they're not.
gamers.
They're not. But the temptation for them to realistically think I could be good enough to make money could be enough to pull them away. That's the point.
Oh, maybe
That's the point.
maybe pull them away. Sure.
Right. Yeah. Not saying that they're going to go and win, but obviously there's like only this percentage is going to win that money. So realistically, there's no reason to go there. But for fighting game players who are good, there might actually be a realistic enough of a chance.
I just don't see it, dude. Like,
right, yeah. Not realistically, but a player could be fooled into thinking.
Well, that may be true.
Right.
But that said, I mean, think back to not that long ago when the Overwatch League was starting up. A lot of players in FGC, just like everybody else, were playing Overwatch. Right. A lot of people played it and still play it. And some of them did, in fact, make it like into pretty high rankings and stuff. I don't think any of them got onto an Overwatch squad, as far as I know. Instead, most of the players who got onto Overwatch squads were from existing shooters that were previous. Some of them actually were from, there's like a League of Legends guy who got in. There's like a couple of instances of things like that, but it's pretty rare. I feel like it would be probably the same for Fortnite. You may be right that people would be
tempted,
sort of tempted, and in the same way that some were tempted by Overwatch League, but very few of the sort of high level, well known fighting game players even spent that much to we're really trying to get into Overwatch League, right?
Yeah.
Some of them were playing the game, but it wasn't like that.
Yeah, nobody's really tried.
Yeah,
right?
not like in that sense. Some other players who are good fighting game players, but maybe not like the top level. They actually, those are the guys I'm talking about who ended up being like pretty high ranked in Overwatch, but also did not make teams anyway. So I feel like that's probably the same sort of deal when it comes to Fortnite. Maybe some players would be sucked away into it, but when it comes to the top level players, I just really don't see any of them leaving what they're currently doing. I'm sure that many of them will and have been play it sort of for fun, because it's fun. I get it.
You probably have a better point here, that a lot of the top players probably have less of a reason to leave because they've already put so much effort into fighting games and they're so good in there.
Yeah.
But some of the players who are those gatekeepers,
the
ones who don't make the money in fighting games, maybe they are actually pretty decent at first-person shooters.
Could be.
Maybe they're not as good at fighting games because they're spending too much time playing first-person shooters.
Definitely.
Right?
That's definitely true for some people, for sure.
So, the threat of losing any top players to that is probably very unlikely.
I think that's unlikely.
And but the threat of losing maybe some of the mid-tier players may be a possibility because they're not winning in fighting games already, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're Meta RD, you know, like, and you're like, hey,
Yeah,
I just won Capcom Cup. Why would you want to go to Fortnite? That's ridiculous, you know, kind of thing.
Course.
So,
folks are talking about some history with FGC players and getting into esports. For example, Marn did have a League of Legends team, and Claky D, who was a good Street Fighter 4 player, ended up transitioning and being in that League of Legends team. After that, he was on another League of Legends team, and now he is, like, he was an observer in League of Legends for Riot, and now he's working for Riot in higher capacity than that. So he does have that progression. I don't know that I can think of that many more players, if anybody.
Grims actually was one that was mentioned.
There you go. Grims was sure.
Great Killer Instinct player, and moved on to, I guess it's PUBG. I don't know what game he moved on to.
Yeah, I knew it was one of the battle royale. PUBG sounds right, because I remember hearing that a while ago. I think before Fortnite really blew up, so it was probably PUBG. He has like a big Twitch viewership, and he's So if anybody, maybe he could make a transition into Fortnite. I know that Godspeed is on a Fortnite team.
Yeah, that's right.
Or maybe it's PUBG. Now I don't recall, but he's on a battle royale team. So it's not like there's nobody who's playing it and trying to do well.
I mean, even someone like there's an old MVC2 player named Ronald Liu who actually became one of the best poker players. Like, he's a prolific poker player. There's Havad
Khan, sure.
You know, Havad Khan made top final table in the World Series of Poker, kind of things like that.
Sure.
Know? So there's definitely a lot of ability to transition between things like that. So
apparently Chris G is super high ranked in League of Legends, and I know some other players who are the same. So anyway, I mean, fighting game players play other games too, just like everybody does. You know, most players aren't just playing one game only. Many of us have different genres that we also care about. I feel like most of us have a different genre that we also care about. So, you know, it's not. Some players will play it and are playing it. I just don't think that it is likely that any fighting game players join a Fortnite pro level Fortnite team. Maybe one or two, but I just can't imagine there's many more than that. That's very funny.
What's that?
Fnatic.
Oh, yeah.
Fnatic, who's of course a Marvel player, Marvel 2, Marvel 3. And there's also a team Fnatic, but it's spelled FNATIQ.
Right. And the worst thing about it was when Perfect Legend was sponsored by Fnatic.
Yeah.
I kept calling him Fnatic.
Whoa.
And like everyone was like, "Man, you're racist, James."
Oh, that's funny, dude.
I was like, no, I swear.
So I don't think it's that likely that there are going to be players sucked away into it, but I am very interested in what that amount of money means for other games, because that amount of money is so much bigger that it makes Capcom Cup winnings look like peanut shells. I mean, like, not even the peanuts, but not even just fighting games. It makes the amount of money won in Dota, which previously was huge.
Like $5 million. Oh my, $1 million per player.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Well, that is a lot, but comparatively speaking, $100 million even makes that look tiny.
Right.
So I don't know what the impact is on other esports, because that is just so huge. Like, there will be people who see this who haven't been interested in esports before, who look at that amount, and I don't even know what the repercussions will be. Will there be hucksters who get in because they see an absurd amount of money?
Right, exactly.
I mean, or on the other side, will there be much more professionalization because there's so much money that now we all have to take this super seriously? Like that. If somebody were to win $20,000 at a Street Fighter tournament, that's something that I feel you got to take seriously. If you have a chance to win $20 million, $200 million, $20 million at a tournament, to say you take it seriously is not even, it's an understatement, right?
Here, let me do so. I just typed this in there. I just looked this up. Let me put something in a little bit of perspective here, okay? Poker, one of the, sports out there that has the most money involved in it, right? The prize pool at the 2017 World Series of Poker was $67 million, which is less than what Fortnite is being offered. And the first place was $8 million in there. And so, like you said, a $20 million prize, which is possible for like the Fortnite championship or something like that, is insane. That is insane.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, how was it stated? Is it so?
It's a very small press release put out by Epic Games. This is, I mean, it's 3 paragraphs.
Read it.
Fortnite competitors, grab your gear, drop in, and start training. Since the launch of Fortnite Battle Royale, we've watched the passion for community competition grow and can't wait to empower you to battle with the best. In the 2018-19 season, Epic Games will provide $100 million to fund prize pools for Fortnite competitions. We're getting behind competitive play in a big way, but our approach will be different. We plan to be more inclusive and focused on the joy of playing and watching the game. Stay tuned for more details about competitive structures and eligible platforms in the weeks ahead. That's the whole thing.
$100 million to fund the prize pool.
Yeah, right.
It almost feels like that could also mean they could use part of that money to run tournaments, because that's technically funding a prize. I don't know.
No.
Like
sure. And does it even mean only sort of competitive mainstream style esports, or does the fact that they say focused on the joy of playing and watching the game mean that there's going to be something else that they're doing with that money?
Just like online.
Is there fun style stuff? Is there prizes for watching stuff?
I heard like there's this new iPhone app that everyone's going crazy about. It's like some quiz show thing that you can
there's
actually
a bunch of those.
Like win actual money off of that. And
although
stuff.
usually not much.
Right, but it's all venture capitalist stuff, right? So a lot of money. I wonder if Fortnite could do something like that, so that prize pool will be just any battle royale. You have the ability to win money.
Could be. Could be. It's just really up in the air. But I don't know, man. I'd love to be more. I've been trying to think about this all day since I heard about this. I just don't know whether it means that there's going to be more hucksters or more professionalization, because I really feel like both routes are reasonable when looking at that kind of money.
Right. I agree.
I mean, I can tell you, like, I've had a couple of clients who come to me legally trying to start up Fortnite teams even before this, because people were hoping that there would be an esports side to it. Right? So there have been some big pro teams that have gotten Fortnite teams, and there are also some more community sourced teams. So I've had a couple of clients who do that, and at no point did any of us think that $100 million could be what they're after, right? I don't know, like now if some Fortnite team wants to start, should I charge them $20,000 to start up a team? Seriously, I don't know.
Right?
Should I do that? You have a chance to win $100 million.
Right.
Yeah. Should I gouge you?
Right.
Maybe.
So
I don't know, man.
Like you said, it's there's that inflation factor too, right? Because like, does it inflate everybody else?
Yeah.
And like you said, it might even affect Dota now. Dota isn't even the big kid on the block when it comes to prize money now. So all of a sudden, are they going to be like, screw it, the international $5 million per player, just to try to keep up in a way? Because I mean, that's how fighting games have been with a lot of those other sports, right? Like the fact that Capcom Cup winner did get $250,000. Like we're all like proud about that. We're like, we're getting there, boys, But now it's like everything is ratcheting up at this point in time. So.
Yeah, Fortnite makes much more money than the other games, that's for sure.
Where is it? Is it just microtransactions, or?
I think that's part of it. I think there's another big part of it that's, that's probably the majority of it, I guess. But there's also a lot of money that's being brought in on the Twitch side of things. Like that's what Ninja streams, and he's getting
But I mean,
$1 trillion for that.
But that money is not going to Epic Games.
I don't think so,
right?
but I'm sure that Epic can look at that amount of money and sell ad space against whatever's coming up next.
Some people are saying that they sell skins. Oh yeah, because they have all the crazy skins. Like they just had the Avengers tie-in skin. Yeah. I saw someone doing artwork like for Mortal Kombat themed skins and stuff like that.
I heard it's going to be Scorpion.
It's really good. They're actually.
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's real.
Oh dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. Battle passes, huh?
Yeah. So. I don't know. It's fascinating to watch though, because that's just so much more money, and I hope that it doesn't make everybody in other esports, including the FGC, worried about the things we've been talking about.
Oh,
Will it siphon off players from Overwatch? I mean, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, but
has a better chance of
probably
that.
Probably a better chance of that
sure.
happening.
Yeah.
And certainly same for PUBG, but. We're doing good, folks.
Yeah.
We're doing cool. We don't need to, don't freak out about this and be worried that it means that fighting games aren't keeping up. We're not keeping up with that. We're not gonna, but we're doing pretty well.
And you know what? I mean, the nice thing about fighting games is it's always been very grassrootsy. You know what I mean? It's like Evo is not going to go anywhere. That's not venture capitalist kind of thing going on over there. You know what I mean? So regardless, the nice thing about that is like, you know, Epic Games is like, here's $100 million. But if Epic Games came out with a new game, then everything is like, now they throw all the money in there. What happens, you know, that kind of situation. Whereas the fighting game community, we're still growing as we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can definitely hit ebbs and flows. You know, a lot of people are probably going to point out, I've talked about, like, if Street Fighter died, then, you know, we would have trouble in that situation. And, you know, I don't think the FGC would go anywhere. I just think that the growth esports aspect of it would stagnate.
It hasn't, though.
And even now, I don't think that that's even as much true with as well as Tekken and Dragon Ball have been doing.
Yeah,
so,
agreed.
And so, I mean, honestly, I don't think the FGC is really going to have any real problem.
I don't think it has a problem. Yeah, and I'm not saying that poverty is cool, Jose Ramirez. But that said, you can be well off. Like, you don't need to be a billionaire to be well off. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could be making. Like, there's a lot of range of
comfort.
Comfort. Yeah, it's maybe a good way to put it. So, we're doing well. We're doing well. I'm not concerned, but I do think it's pretty cool for Epic and for Fortnite. I don't think that I'm overselling it either. It's $100 million. Wow, that's so much more. Anyway, anything else to say about this?
Do you think that there is a potential that this could be the start of that esports bubble bursting?
Oh, that's an interesting question, I guess. Yeah.
Like, they're putting a lot of money into this, and then what if it fails?
Well, you know, the rumors are that they're making hundreds of millions per month.
Right.
I don't know if that's been officially released, but that's what I've read in the past. So if that keeps up, then 100 million sounds like it's totally doable.
Right.
But even if it doesn't, like, say that next month is the last month they ever make $150 million, they can still do $100 million. So I wouldn't be too concerned about this, like, not being paid out, but it is such a number that, yeah, I wonder if other leagues... Right,
that's the question.
Yeah, how they'll respond. I guess I'm worried anyway, as I've said, about the NBA 2K League.
Yeah.
Which had like 10,000 when it was first starting in viewership, and now it's at 2,000, and that is just not what they were hoping for. Clearly, I mean they're paying players like 30,000 for 6 months, and they have a bunch of players, and they had invested a lot of advertising into it, and it's a very top-down model for sure. But that's what they were hoping for. So do they see 100 million and think we have no chance of competing with this? Because they don't.
Right. Yeah.
And do they just get out of it? Because it's not. You know, obviously there have been NBA 2K tournaments more from the community side, but when it comes to this league, it's very top down. It's like just very created. So would that continue to be funded if they know that there's just no way that they're going to get $100 million or anything like it?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, because I'm just worried that like some other groups are going to try to like, shit, we need to match this money, and they overdo it, and then they don't make that kind of money back. They don't get the same kind of exposure. Does it? Because like I still remember like when you know, like some of the esports teams started signing fighting game players to decent salaries. That's going to force a lot of other teams to start signing players at decent salaries, and then does that kill a lot of those teams? Kind of in the same fashion, right? You know, if that money doesn't come back. So could this end up, and I'm sure Epic would love it, but it could end up killing some other esports out there. Maybe. It's kind of a scary thought. So
I have seen people say in the chat, and I agree, that I think Fortnite is easier to watch than Overwatch.
Oh, yeah. First-person shooter. Well, especially in a battle royale format, because it's less team format, right? Because like when you watch something like Call of Duty or CSGO or something like Counter-Strike, like there's team formations, and it makes kind of a difference on how their teamwork works and stuff like that. But battle royale, if it's battle royale and you're just watching one guy, like it's kind of entertaining just to see what that guy is doing by himself, right? It
does mean that you lose out on most of the action, but what you're seeing is interesting. Right. So yeah, I think it's easier to watch too. Okay. I wouldn't be too concerned for Overwatch's sake, because they've actually been doing a pretty good job. Yeah. You know, they've actually had pretty good viewership and pretty good sales, and they're in-person venue has been full, and I feel like they've done better than I was maybe worried that they would. So.
Well, all I can say is I hope, the NBA League, NBA 2K League continues to grow.
Yeah?
No, because I mean, honestly, I had thought about it. I was like, I could do commentary for that. Because I've watched basketball.
Obviously you know the NBA, but do you know... I don't know how you even control your character in NBA 2K. I have no idea.
That's the thing is that from the people that I've talked to is they wanted commentary to sound more like the TV.
Oh.
So they want it to be more kind of like...
So it's not like, oh, he held down on the A button and let go at the exact frame to get a three-pointer?
Yeah.
If that happens,
I think they more just want like, oh, sets the screen, dribbles to the top of the key, shoots the 18-footer, it's good! That kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, that I can definitely do, but I've never touched the game, so,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I don't think that's terribly likely. It is true that the NBA funds the WNBA, which loses money, but... $100 million is...
Yeah.
Can you compete with that? I don't know.
I mean, and I've heard that WNBA players basically make nothing.
Yeah, they make very little money.
Yeah, they make very little money, and then off season they just have regular day jobs, stuff like that. So.
Whip. Mm-hmm. All right, anything else to say here? Are we good?
Yep, I think we're good.
So there's also some interesting news that I just briefly wanted to touch on because it's sort of similar in what I want to say about it, I guess. Okay. That the Arab Esports Federation has begun, and it is a cooperation, it's a partnership between 11 countries, let me see, which are Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Libya, Tunisia, and the United Arab Emirates. So that's a bunch of countries across North Africa and the Middle East. It's a pretty good geographical region. And it's, countries in very different economies and cultures and stuff. And it's interesting because, we did hear, if you recall, at EVO Japan, Prince Faisal bin Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud of Saudi Arabia.
Good job.
He was there.
Yes.
I remember Markman posting up a tweet about meeting with him. I didn't meet him myself. But so we know that he's interested in esports, but we don't know anything else about the people involved with this as far as I know. Maybe if anybody does, please let me know. I tried to do some research, but they signed a 25-year exclusive agreement with that's a wild number. Absolutely wild number.
You don't even have to say who they've signed
Anybody.
it with. That's already a crazy number right there. Signing a 25-year agreement for anything. Is crazy.
Anything.
Okay.
If it was with the most well-known esports group in the world, you'd think, really?
Right.
Right? But instead it's with Global Esport Resources, a global esports strategy, planning, and execution company. I tried to look them up, and there was just a little bit. The first thing I found out about them was from earlier this year, from March.
Well, one thing I do want to say, Naughty Senpai talks about the Olympic Games, the athletes there don't make any money, but that's intentional because the athletes are amateurs, technically.
It's
so.
Right. I mean, you're right. It's intentional. It sucks.
Right.
It definitely sucks. But it is.
Yeah.
That's the rules, I guess. It's horrible.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
That's about it. I mean, there's some more words about it, but it's kind of just whatever. They have 300 million people in the region, and that includes 80 million active gamers, and the shared revenue of the video game industry in the Esports Federation is estimated at $3 billion for 2017. I don't know. It's just kind of venture capitalist type language. There is obviously a lot of money in esports.
Yeah. A lot of people are trying to get in on it.
They are. And 100 million is one thing. Another thing is a 25-year-long partnership with, as far as I know, unknown people.
Right.
I don't know everybody, but I know a good chunk of people in the esports industry, and I've never heard of those folks. And we also, having been to Kuwait Battle Royale, have met people in, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Morocco even.
Right.
We've talked with some of these folks, and, other than the prince in Saudi Arabia,
They've all made it sound like that there's not.
There's nothing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right?
They've never said like, but there's this global esports resource thing, right? You know, that we heard about.
There's there's the Kuwait Battle Royale, there's that tournament in
this
Dubai.
is? These guys are creating that company. That's why they're signing up for it with 25. They're just trying to make it sound like a partnership or something. They probably are making it themselves. And
you mean the AEF?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, I'm sure. I'm for sure. But why? Right.
Dude, I will be honest with you. When I saw you retweet this, just as an aside here, I was expecting Yusuf to be in the picture.
Well, why not?
You know? But the thing is, Kuwait wasn't listed. It wasn't even listed. It wasn't listed. I don't understand that. That seems kind of wrong to me. But
it's super weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Anyways,
I don't know what else really there's to say in terms of factual stuff. It's more just wondering about what this means. First reaction is that it just sounds like some money laundering stuff, in my view.
Really?
Yeah, dude, that sounds super shady. A 25-year-long partnership with some dudes. You know, come on. 25 years. There's no talk of which games they're interested in.
Right.
There's no talk of the community aspect of it. I just don't know. And even on top of that, are they going to get Overwatch? Overwatch is already its own league.
Right.
League of Legends has its own leagues. Like, what games?
Who are they going to get?
What is anything in this? It's just so out of the blue that I feel like it's hard to take seriously.
Splatoon. There you go.
Maybe Splatoon.
Splatoon.
It's not the first time, certainly if it is, that there's been money laundering in esports. Like there's a Korean tradition there that's 20 years old at this point, almost. 15 years at least. So this is not like a new idea. It's just so big, and so the amount of years is so long that I don't know how you take it seriously.
Yeah. 25 years? No, I don't think we've even known each other for 25 years.
You and me?
Yeah,
definitely
even close.
Not. No,
maybe even half that.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm sure. I heard of your name.
But we haven't met each other until like 2008, maybe.
Yeah, 8 or 9. Or something
8 or 9.
Yeah.
So we've only known each other for like
8, I guess.
10 years, basically. Yeah.
No, 25 years. 25 years is when fighting game tournaments began. It's like that's when
that's when
any competitive game really began. 25 years.
That's
It's
true,
it's doubling the length of any esports. Crazy.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird time. Like, esports is growing, but then there's also all of these like, just, I don't want to use the word shady, but like there's just a lot of dark corners that you just got to navigate around through and make sure that you don't get yourself sucked into something that's just that just has no chance of succeeding. You know what I mean? Just by virtue of what they are. Now, do I think that'll happen with the Fortnite stuff? Obviously not, because they're making money hand over fist, basically, right? So they'll be fine, but,
Yeah. Even if it's not, it might not be money laundering. There's so much money some of these folks have. The Saudi princes have amazing amounts of money. And you see them using it sometimes to do wild projects. And it's like, if it doesn't work out, not that big of a deal.
Right.
There's more money where that came from. And there's a lot of intended forward thinking. It's something we've talked about with the guys in Kuwait too, about, obviously much of the money that has been made and exists in the countries there is due to oil. Everybody knows it's not going to last forever. So they're all trying to do new things, right? That's why Dubai is trying to turn itself into a worldwide tourist destination. Like everybody's got their idea.
Right.
And maybe esports factors into that somehow. I don't know. It could be. But I think it's worrying, and it's in talking about what's the response to $100 million, is it more hucksters or more professionalization? I think this is on the worrying side.
Okay.
So I mean, the people involved are, you got a Saudi prince, you got some rich people and stuff. That's not like, it's not Triforce or whatever, but it is definitely, I don't know, it's a concern, I guess.
I mean, if you find a Triforce with money, I mean that's a concern as well, right?
Sure.
So Okay. Oh, all right. Well, I don't have anything more to add to that. So if you want to move on to the next topic.
Sure. I guess that's it.
Okay. Do you want to take a break, or do you just want to jump on to Stunfest?
Yeah, let's take a break, I guess.
Okay. No problem.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about tournament results. Stunfest, BAM, Toryuken.
Good stuff that happened this weekend.
E-League Challenger.
So yeah, so when we come back, we'll be talking about all that stuff. Be right back. And that is a picture of Stunfest. Woo!
Ooh, it looked cool.
Yeah.